Hey, welcome to another Chin-Wag with me, Bob, and thanks for watching. I've been appreciating all the comments that are rolling in via email and on Facebook. Besides being a pastor in Wisconsin, I am also the guy that runs That's Not My God on Facebook, and you can find it facebook.com/That's Not My God. One of the things that I enjoy doing on That's Not My God is getting together with my worship leader, music director. Her name is Monica Barden, and her husband, Mike Barden. And then we also have another lady, Chris Weilman, that joins us, though she wasn't with us on the one today. What we do is we come into this office here, and we have a little recording studio built up, and we just kind of talk about all things Christianity. We always say nothing's too sacred to discuss, and we're open always for questions. And one of the things we talked about today, was the issue of churches becoming too corporate. Now, this is an issue that I'm sure many have seen, that many have not seen, but those that have seen it probably will never forget it. There's a scenario back in the 80s and 90s where you had the birthing of Maranatha music and Hosanna integrity. In and of itself, not a bad thing. Some of my favorite worship leaders came out of those times. Morris Chapman, forget about it. He's a great worship leader, and Ron Canoli, and but there was also a lot of stuff that just makes your ears want to bleed. And so, but I think with that whole model of institutionalized worship and really just polished worship, there came this corporation mindset of how churches should run, and you even had books all the way entitled Jesus CEO, and it was just an amazing thing. And people ask me, so how do you run a church? I get people all the time saying, I wish your church was closer to us. I'm looking for a church like Radiant Fellowship. And my mindset is that I think it takes way more effort to run a corporate church, a corporate-minded church, than it is to run a simple church. We really do believe at the church that I pastor that it needs to be simple. I understand that people have hectic lives and running kids all over the place and getting involved in sports and dance and all this stuff. And the last thing they need in their life is for church to be advanced as well and very busy. So that's kind of our approach on church. There are books written about it and everything, and what would happen are these big churches then would, with hundreds of ministries, would then read this book and form another ministry called Simple Church and figure out how to do the simple thing, when in fact you just look at your schedule and say, youth, kids, adults, one for each, and away we go. Women's ministry, men's ministry, these are all things that just kind of form out of the church. But me personally, I look at church as let it grow, let it see what it is. For the longest time, we didn't even have a missions program. Kind of a no-no, with some denominations. But we wanted to see what would happen. Was it for us just to take on any missionary that came through and said, yes, we'll support you? Or do we hang out for a little while, maybe even a year or two, and figure out, well, what are we going to do here? And organically, we began to see passions birthed, and we saw some neat things happen in missions that we're supporting now. Letting the staff have freedom, that's a pointer I would give any pastor, is letting your staff have freedom to be who they are. We see way too many times in churches where a pastor gets hired in for a year or so, they're on the honeymoon and everything's good, but then there's the little things, the nitpicking in the board, perhaps trying to sway things, the money givers to the big money givers to sway things. I've seen it happen. Literally heard people say, I give a lot of money to this church, I want to see things go this way. Which at that point, now that I'm a pastor, I would say, adios. Be a blessing somewhere else. We don't need your money or your conservative ways. But I recall hearing, even to this day, churches that will oftentimes have their staff sign a Facebook waiver, a dirty little secret of churches. That a lot of churches do have these Facebook waivers that the staff needs to line up with everything the church does, and nothing on their Facebook page can be contrary to the doctrines or even question the doctrines. I don't think I would like to serve on a church like that. I told Monica today and Mike that I said there's just no way. The beautiful thing about a church, the beautiful thing about a gathering is the dynamic of different thoughts and different mindsets. I think that's an important thing to have in a church. I think it's important to celebrate the diversity in church, to have Republicans, Democrats, moderates, white collar, blue collar, people from all different lifestyles coming together to worship God. I think that's very important. I don't think it's the role of the church to stifle that. If you're going to be a true church and you're going to welcome everybody, welcome everybody. It makes for an exciting time. Your church may remain small, but it's going to be full of people that get it. And so I think that's an important thing. What do you think about church? What do you think about the things I just talked about? Email me, info@that'snotmygod.com, or post comments on that'snotmygod.com on Facebook. So it's facebook.com/that'snotmygod. So hope to hear from you soon. Have a great day.